El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, has now left the APC, a party was part of, the merger that formed the APC. As I said at the beginning, as we know, he said it over and over, his name is part of the people who registered the party, but he's decided he's going to pitch his tent somewhere else because he said the party is straying from the ideals for which they were formed. Well, there has been a lot of talk about his defection from the APC to the SDP, but well, I'll not be doing this. Bukola now joins us in the program. Bukola, welcome.
Yeah, hi Jeffrey. Hello, Kari. It's just one of those mornings. But
yeah, we understand.
Like the phoenix, we still rise. And it's an interesting conversation to start with. Two in one that we're packing, by the way. Of course, the defection of the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, and of course, what seems to be playing out in River State politics. Is it the beginning of the easing of tensions, or it is just, another event, that would lead to nowhere, as we've seen in the last 18 months in River State? We're hoping for the first, not the second.
So Jeffrey, do you want to do us the honors and get right into the conversation?
Yes, indeed.
Which of the conversations now?
We're starting off with the exit of the former Kaduna State governor from the APC.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started with the guests we have in the studio. We've been joined in the program by the special advisor to the president on policy communication, Mr. Daniel Bwala, joining us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Bwala, thank you so much for coming on the program. Also joining us on the program is Professor Jideofor Adibe, is a political analyst. And also joining us on the program is Adewole Adebayo, SDP presidential candidate in the 2019 presidential election. Gentlemen, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the program. Mr. Bwala, let me start with you, Mr. Bwala, on this particular issue. Well, there's been a lot of talk, but how is the APC receiving the news as far as this defection is concerned? Hello, Mr. Bwala, can you hear us? Okay, let's get to Mr. Adebayo. Mr. Adebayo, let's hear your input on this particular one. I know that you had responded, I think, with a tweet. Okay, they call it X now. You posted on X yesterday welcoming the former Kaduna State governor into your fold, and you talked about that this is a different kettle of fish. Literally, when I read your statement, it felt like, okay, we're not like them. We're a different breed. This is a different matter altogether. The energy you're bringing is fantastic. We welcome you. But maybe explain to us exactly what does this mean to you and for the party in general?
Well, I was the presidential candidate in 2023, not 2019. And hopefully, in 2027 as well. But the welcome note that I sent to our new member, former Governor Nasir El-Rufai, is the same note I sent to other people who joined the party. In his own case, there's a flavor because I happen to personally like him, appreciate him for his public services in the various positions he has held, and I believe he's a man of talent. And I thought that that's an intellectual, technocratic addition to our team because our platform is about solving the social problems of the country. And I thought that it would be useful, even right now, as a brain trust. That's basically what it means to us. But we have many members who are joining from different parts of the country, not captured by the news. I'm in Kaduna State now, and I know how many people from Katsina, Kano, and nearby states that have been registering the party, have been monitoring progress. That's just one of those things.
All right, so let me just stay with you a bit, Mr. Adebayo. It was interesting to read your initial reactions to former Governor Nasir El-Rufai's defection yesterday, and you describe it as a vital addition to the SDP and indeed the beginning of the rescue mission, if I got you correctly, ahead of 2027. So it sort of adds to that conversation about the grand coalition for 2027. We'll talk about the Grand Coalition later. But I recall when you were the presidential candidate for the SDP in 2023, how you were very critical about the APC-led government, and you in fact accused the APC-led government of being behind, the crude oil theft that was ongoing in the country. So former Governor El-Rufai is a critical part of was now until his defection, of the APC government. So how do you, align with somebody who would have been described as someone of a former strange bedfellow to the SDP?
Well, first and foremost, Nigeria is diverse, and you'll find patriots on all sides. It doesn't mean that if you narrow the discussion to particular policy areas, I will agree with Nasir El-Rufai on many of them. But I agree with the fact that he's a hardworking person, he's a highly intelligent person, and it's a success story in BPE. Even though I don't agree with the mission of the BPE, but he executed the mission well. He did very well in the FCT. I would have done more social programs and other things if I was Minister of FCT, but he improved the FCT massively, and I don't think anyone has beaten his record since then. I'm in Kaduna now. I'm a regular in Kaduna, and I have seen vast improvements in Kaduna. Even those who oppose him in Kaduna oppose him on other issues, not on the issues around which I agree with him, but effectiveness, about executive capacity, and his ability to work very hard and achieve outcomes. So that is that. With respect to my criticism of the APC, it remains the same. APC, I consider APC to be a lousy coalition of people who do not know what governance is all about, but who are very good with politics of how to capture power. And when El-Rufai joined them, I thought that that was a loss to the more intellectual side of our society. And I'm not surprised that he had a head-on collision with them on many issues. But if you look at some of the intellectual focus that the party had, like if you look at the so-called El-Rufai committee in the APC, it was one of the few progressive ideas that they toyed with. But given the natural...
Mr. Adebayo.
Yes.
Pardon me. Mr. El-Rufai prides himself as one of the founding fathers of the All Progressives Congress. So you don't consider him as you say now, one of the lousy members of the party that was just interested in state capture without any ideas?
No, no, you can accuse El-Rufai of anything. You cannot accuse him of lack of ideas. I can just say that he joined a lousy group of people, and he's learned his lessons now. But it doesn't mean that there are not people in APC who are intellectually gifted and who, in different circumstances, will have done better. I was describing them as a group. It doesn't mean that there are no intellectuals inside, but I disagree with their mission. I disagree with the way in which they use talent. And I wasn't surprised that they couldn't even live with him for that long. But the idea of the SDP is that if you are going to be in charge of Nigeria, you need to persuade people. El-Rufai did not run crashing to our party. We had discussions with him. We had ideological interaction. We have areas where, even now, we still have work in progress. And some of his ideas that he's used to over the years that the SDP will not accept. And we're working on that. But my welcome to him is to say, this is the place you can come to. It's not that he's fit for every job in SDP or fit for every position in SDP, but with time, if we see that he's receiving information, because he has an intellectual curiosity, he has an ability to test new ideas, and he knows that we're very strong when it comes to social services. We're very strong in social intervention. We don't believe that you have to privatize everything. We believe that some aspects of governance should be left to the government. And we believe that the Nigerian people deserve the benefits of Chapter 2 of the Constitution. We'll be having conversations with him. But the fact that he's an APC person with whom you can have intellectual engagement, A majority of the rest, I don't think you can even fathom anything like that. So we're working on that, and don't be surprised if you hear in 2 weeks' time, 2 months' time, that Adebayo and El-Rufai disagree vehemently on an issue in SDP. Though I'm not saying we are now Siamese twins. What I'm saying is that he has what it takes to understand the SDP, and it's a hard-working person. And if we work with him, I believe that we can achieve specific outcomes that will be of benefit to the country. And that is our focus. El-Rufai is not the panacea to every problem that the country is facing or the aspiration of the SDP. It's a vital addition that we welcome, and we will make sure that we work as much as possible with him not to derail from the SDP manifesto, but to achieve it to the people.
All right, Mr. Adibe, I want to come to you in a few things, including electoral value, as far as that conversation is concerned. But let's bring in Prof. Prof, you have a, let's call it a panoramic view as an analyst on this one to see what is playing out as far as this defection is concerned. I did speak with Shehu Sani yesterday. Some of his words, he described this as good riddance, he described it as liability. He gave me data to that effect as far as the numbers in terms of politics is concerned. But Mr. Adibe has clearly said, look, you can't doubt his intellectual sagacity and capacity to be able to deliver on a few things. But what do you see as far as this is concerned as far, with the defection of the former Kaduna State Governor to the SDP from the APC? Prof, that's for you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, Prof, we can hear you well. Go ahead, please.
Well, first of all, let me say that political parties in the country are more like special purpose vehicles. So it makes sense. I mean, I don't say it's right, but it makes sense that if you feel you are marginalized or you are inconsequentialized in your existing political party, to try to plot an alternative route to political relevance. I think that's precisely what El-Rufai has tried to do. I think he gave indications that he was going to move. Probably he flew it as a kite, waiting for, for a kind of negotiations, which probably didn't happen. So to that extent, I think, it's in consonance with the Nigerian political culture that if you feel you are no longer being, you are barely being tolerated in one group, you try to find your exit. They are not bound by any strong principles or, or ideological inclinations. So to that extent, it's understandable. The second aspect of it is our question, why move to SDP? If you look at what happened with Kwakwanso's and move into an NDP and Peter Obi's into a Labour Party, these are like sleepy fringe political parties. And one of the things that will immediately happen is that the sleepy executive members of the political party, this SDP, will suddenly find themselves thrust onto the national limelight. And many of them, you saw Kwakwanso being expelled, you saw what Peter Obi and his colleagues had to go through, despite the fact that they brought the parties to the limelight. So the sleepy executives of these fringe political parties, often without a significant second address, will become, very easily turned into fifth columnists, because quite often they struggle with handling national limelight. So I see that as a problem. The third, probably one of his calculations, El-Rufai's calculations, is by going to SDP, which, Adebayo is a very, articulate politician from the Southwest, and then bringing in other opposition elements in the sense to of people who are not accommodated in the APC in the Southwest. You see, I've had mentions of Arebo Shola, Dr. Fayemi is a very intelligent guy too. So by trying now to coalesce around those Southwest politicians, he also hopes to further undermine Tinubu, who's, we cannot talk about, it's difficult to know about his own popularity. Let me also mention that people who say that El-Rufai doesn't have relevance, I disagree with them. I disagree totally with El-Rufai's politics, because I am among those who see him as extremely a polarizing figure. But he has his base, essentially those you regard as right-wingers in the Muslim North, that is, those on the political right in the Muslim North. It tend to, They also tend to find him, you know, that seems to be his constituency. So if you're a politician from the South and you want to plot access to that political base, then people like El-Rufai can be meaningful. But that will also be at a cost, because there are several politicians, especially from the South, that will not want to deal with El-Rufai even with a long spoon.
All right, Prof, staying with you for just a moment. You know, yesterday, when we had some conversation, some things came up in that conversation. I'm going to go to Mr. Adebayo in just a moment. So, do you think that, because one of the things he said in his statement, in his defection statement, is the fact that he's rallying literally the opposition to be able to face the APC in all elections beginning from now till 2027. From where you sit, do you see him having that capacity to be able to aggregate all of these interests to unseat President Bola Tinubu, broadly speaking? I know it may be hasty to call.
He has a political base, those you call the hardliners in the Muslim North. So if you want to plot access to that constituency, yes, he can. But as an individual, he's probably as unpopular in the South as, permit me to say that, as Muhammad Buhari. So it's, and those who associate with him, people like Dr. Fayemi, you know, I respect him a lot as you know, a good intellectual. They will also find that it will be as a big cost to their own image. But this is politics. It's about how to win power. You know, the Buhari had needed to get 25% in the South and went into alliance. So my own challenge is, as an individual, it would have been better if, for example, several political parties, you know, come together in the manner that APC did from 2013, and then it becomes an alliance, form a new political parties. Now you go to SDP, you have to deal with fifth columnists, because you are dealing with Tinubu, no matter what you think of him. He's a master in the game. So he's going to activate all whatever is activatable to make sure that they are not going to sleep. Those who didn't want him to be active in the APC, they are not going to relent. And then there are also those who will feel aggrieved, or rather alienated, that this is not going to be another relay race between the Northwest, Northeast, and Southwest. No, there are other parts of the country. So that is also another calculation. So it would have made more sense if they had plotted a sort of a merger of smaller political parties, so that a new political party emerges that is not beholden to any entity. I can tell you, those who register parties like SDP, Labour Party, NNDP, they often have transactional ambitions. And you saw that flare up. And suddenly, if you are publicity secretary and nobody ever heard of you before, and just the new attention that will be brought to you upon who and these executives, they find it difficult to handle. So there is also, El-Rufai may not have that cloud, but for today, he's making all the headlines, which shows that he's still relevant.
Oh, there you go. So let's ask Mr. Adebayo. You've made quite a number of points, Professor Adibe. Mr. Adebayo, he had talked about, you know, some of us, your party now, in the sense, being sleepy, not being able to handle this sort of limelight. He talked about, you know, I mean, you've heard all the things he said, and I imagine you might want to respond to some of them before I raise a very major issue. But perhaps you want to speak quickly to some of the points Professor Adibe made. Mr. Adebayo.
Professor is a renowned intellect. He's a thinker. Of course, he's talking theoretically in that sense, in the sense that, one, SDP before El-Rufai came, even when El-Rufai was active in the APC, we made our own successes. You cannot say a party that has produced senators. We have current senators. We have House of Representatives members. We did very well in Ekiti. We were up there. We came second, according to INEC, but we will have been first. We just did very well in Kogi. We went all the way to the Supreme Court. You can go and read the records. You will see that we won the election, only issue of technicality. We didn't play this and that. That's what the Supreme Court used. So I will be very active. El-Rufai is welcome, but maybe Prof, if he gets data, he will refine his hypothesis. We will discover that there are many people who have joined the SDP who are quite strong. If Solomon alone has been the SDP for some time now, you cannot say it's a non-entity. Mulikat Akande Adeola, who ran for speaker against Tambua, who became majority leader under the PDP, has been the party quietly working. There are so many people working in the party, so we are not, maybe we're not well known to the professor, but we will do very well. But I don't think that El-Rufai coming to the party is something that is waking the party up. I think El-Rufai attracts the media. So if he makes a cup of tea and has 2 cubes of sugar, it's going to be in the news. That's why people are talking about it. But if you go around, we're working very hard. People are joining the party.
Let me add this to the data set, because you are providing data, but let me add this particular one to the data set. And this is a tweet you made in 2023, directly targeted at Mr. El-Rufai. Now there was a talk about, the political setup in Kaduna State, how they have maintained, same faith for governor and, deputy governor. And this was what you said then, that you condemned the provocative and divisive bigotry inherent in the statements of then Governor El-Rufai on Islamic dominance of politics in Kaduna and Nigeria. And then you went on to say political agenda founded on ethnicity and religion is anathema to diverse and plural Nigeria. And you said no to your studies on all sides. So has this, your view, changed about him, particularly the provocative, the divisive bigotry, which you said was inherent in his statements then?
Yeah, I condemn a particular statement that he made. In fact, there's another one where he talked about body bags. Some people came to observe elections. So these are the conversations we have all the time. And that's why I said at the beginning that it doesn't mean that by tomorrow we are going to have a meeting in the party and he's going to say something or push a position I don't agree with, that I will say, oh, El-Rufai is now my body. No. The issue is that we see him as an asset. We see him as a hardworking person, and he has verifiable, measurable track record of public performance. So what I believe is that he has his own weaknesses, which he needs to work on, but I'm not his mentor or his therapist. But what I know is that Nigerians overall have a bird-eye view of El-Rufai. They will consider some of these comments that he's made. They will consider some other aspects. But overall, I think Nigeria will say, yeah, here is a very good public servant. And for someone like me, who I want to solve specific problems, electricity problem, I want to solve education problem, I want to have social programs and all of that, we need capable hands who are capable of cracking problems. Because the essence of politics is governance. And the essence of governance is to deliver goods and services to the people. And to do that, you need competent hands, people who are competent, and nobody can argue that El-Rufai is not competent. I'll give an example that when Barack Obama was contesting against John McCain for the presidency of the United States, even though they were opponents, he did not deny the fact that John McCain was a good sailor, was a good Navy man, was a good war hero. And that is kind of thing that I want in our politics. I can disagree with El-Rufai on many issues, including that comment, and if he does any other thing similar to that, but you cannot deny the fact that here is a man of great talent who is committed to delivering on any job you give to him, and we intend to make very good use of him in the SDP to achieve solutions to the problems of the country.
Sounds like there's going to be a lot of fireworks in the coming days in the SDP, because I'm wondering whether you're totally on the same page as far as ideologies and policies are concerned with the welcoming of former Governor El-Rufai. But let me come to you now, Professor Adibe. Some have described his exit from the APC to the PDP as a wrong choice and the beginning of his entry into political oblivion. What are your thoughts about this? Is former Governor El-Rufai bound to bounce back?
You already see that since he lost out in the ministerial nomination exercise. he had been, in political wilderness, so to say. And when he came out and made his statements, I saw it as, a cue for the APC to reach out to him and negotiate. Probably they didn't do that. So he had, in Nigerian context, he had only one option. If he wants to continue to remain politically relevant, to leave the political party and look for an alternative route or political path, an alternative path to political relevance. And that's what he has done. And today everybody is talking about SDP. He has energized the SDP. So he's, in terms of relevance, he has already achieved it. Almost all the political parties, newspapers will have him in front page. And all the major media houses will be discussing about him. So what else do you call political relevance?
Professor Adibe,
whether that will be able to
Professor Adibe, but that's only momentary, as things often do. They pass. The most important thing, as we've been talking about, is SDP rightly positioned to take power in 2027? And to answer that, most people think that is doubtful.
Well, 2027 is still a long way. There are a couple of scenarios. If, for example, another political party emerges, and that political party is seen as representative of all other parts of the country, then, and SDP comes as, becomes strengthened as a result of the entry of El-Rufai and the conservative elements or the right-wing elements from the north, then the political base of Tinubu's political base will be further weakened. We already saw what's happening in the Lagos House of Assembly. We don't know the implications for 2027. We saw what's happening in Osun State. We don't know the implications. So if you throw into that an invigorated SDP, in which another person from Southwest is strongly represented, that will weaken political base. And if another political party comes up strongly, and a Tinubu's base that is weakened in the Southwest, obviously having problems in the North, then he will face some serious challenges. That might be the calculation. The calculation might not simply be for the SDP to win power. It might be to further weaken the president's Southwest base, and then create avenue for another party to take power. And that means that is only if votes count. We don't know if votes will count.
All right, Mr. Adebayo, let's come to you as we're going to wind down. So if we do that calculation and extrapolation, and looking at all the call for coalition and realignments that we're seeing now that El-Rufai is in your party, I know at the beginning of the conversation you said, by the grace of God, you'll run again in 2027. Is this good? Doesn't this look like your chance is going to get slimmer?
Well, yeah, well, everything is hand of God, but I think the chance gets brighter. Everybody who is coming to SDP, there's no doubt that they know who is going to run, who is running. That's not the issue. We'll be having conversation. But it's not about the ambition of one person. And contrary to what Prof might have speculated, they will find out that the aim of the SDP is to win. And we believe that we can only win by working very hard. It may look improbable to those who don't have the facts behind what we're doing, but our strategy is not to weaken anyone. Our strategy is to marshal an alternative political framework and to get people to join it. And maybe before the noise of El-Rufai joining wears off, you will see that another person is going to join, yet another person, and we'll keep building. Our aim is to build. It's not a parade of VIPs. We are working with people. We are going from place to place, and it's a nationwide platform. It's not based on any section.
Mr. Adebayo, my apologies. I read your statement and listening to you now, it feels like everybody you're talking about is still a Nigerian. These people, some of them are coming from other political parties, and we know how this thing plays out. But this idealistic proposition or posturing is very doubtful in terms of actuality.
Yeah, you see, first, we must respect ideals. There are those who are cynical in politics because of their experiences, but we are trying to build a platform. When we started in the SDP, 2 or 3 years ago, people were looking at us, what are these people doing? look at us again next year, you will see the difference. But the difference between where we are now, where we are going, is hard work. And to make sure that the people come to the party have ideological alignment, and that it's not about personality clashes, it's not about people migrating around looking for where to plant their ambition. It's about bringing people together, understanding that in the background of all we are discussing, the country is in trouble. The present government that is there now is not able to deliver on his own mandate. Even his own mandate is not good enough for the country, and that the people are suffering, and that they are not interested in El-Rufai going here or there. They're interested in a solution that can solve the social menaces that we have in the country, and that can resolve the poverty gap that we have in the country and the insecurity. So that's why we are focused. Now we're bringing people in. Maybe now that I see that Professor Jideofor Adibe has this analytical ability and is focused on things like this, I will reach out to him. We'll build a better coalition. It may sound ideal to people on utopia, but you will see that it's been done in Senegal, it's been done in other places. We are going to build like that, and we are going to give Nigeria a chance to defeat the APC. I can tell you, there's nothing good about President Tinubu coming back in 2027. He won't do well at all. So it's because we have seen the record. So the best thing to do is to build a platform that can make it easy for Nigerians to believe that.
Mr. Adebayo, yes, Prof, we're totally out of time. 10 seconds. Perhaps you're being invited to join the party. What's your response? He just made a statement that he's going to reach out to you. Prof, 10 seconds.
I'll say I'm flattered. Thanks. Adebayo is an extremely articulate speaker. You can't listen to him without seeing, this man has ideas. Everybody says that, but ideas are different. I'm not a politician, and I don't intend to be one in the nearest future. But thanks anyway. I write a column. I think that's where my own political engagement stops, apart from my teaching and running a publishing company.
All right,
thank
Prof.
you very much.
Well, thank you. Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the Nasarawa State University, Kefi, and founder of Adonis and Abe Publishers, Professor Jideofor Adibe. Thank you for your thoughts. Also want to thank Mr. Adewole Adebayo, SDP presidential candidate in the 2023 presidential election. Thank you for coming. And I'm sure you saw Mr. Daniel Bwala earlier. Mr. Bwala couldn't stay with us because he didn't want to be paired, apparently. So that's why we couldn't have him join the conversation. But we'll move on now to other part of the conversation in just a moment. Stay with us.